Lessons for Life, live on a Monday night. Tonight we are talking about events in Africa, in particular Niger. And Owen is on the line, audio only. That's absolutely fine. Welcome, Owen. I
Hi there,
think
how's
we've
it
got
going?
him. Good man, good man. And anyone else who wants to join, do what Owen has done and click the link in the description. Let's find out what's happening in Niger.
Week has warned that France is seeking to militarily intervene in the country. France has apparently gotten authorization from the foreign minister of the deposed government, the junta claimed on Monday. Now, the situation in the West African country remains in a flux as the junta, which is called the National Council for the Safeguard of the Homeland, has consolidated its hold. Its takeover also seems quite popular. Thousands gathered in the capital on Sunday, many of whom raised slogans against France. A section even attacked the French embassy. For those following the region, this anti-French sentiment is nothing surprising. We go to Kambale Musawali for the details. Kambale, thank you so much for joining us. Quite dramatic developments over the past few days. On Sunday, we saw there are huge thousands mobilizing in the capital of Niger, raising anti-France slogans. In fact, I believe there was also an attack on the French embassy. And I think the developments in Niger seem to kind of mirror what has been happening in many other parts of the region as well. So could you take us through, first of all, what's from the reports you have been getting, what's happening in the country right now, specifically the positions the military junta is taking, and what has been the kind of response?
All of us were surprised to hear, but I wouldn't say all fully surprised for the region, but surprised for Niger, that there was a coup on July 26. The Presidential Guard detained the president of Niger, Bazoum. He was declared the winner of the election in 2021, and he's been leading the country since. There have been tensions that we could get into it as we discussed. The coup leader who rose from that coup is General Abdurrahman Chani, and he decided to close the border. So right after the coup was done to the country on the first day, there were a few people supporter of the president, Bazoum. They came out to ask for him to be released. They were dispersed. There were a really small number of people, usually they were mostly party members of his party, which is a Parti Nigérien pour la démocratie and le socialisme. But after that, people in vast majority evacuated to their daily tasks, daily routine. But on July 30th, thousands came out in the streets in support of the coup. Few things that were noticeable in this rally. People were clearly saying France must leave, no France dégage. There were a few people who were carrying the Russian flag, which was quite interesting. And we've seen that across Africa. In a few countries when there are these rallies, what does that actually mean? That people are expressing the need of a multipolar world by seeing Russia as another pole that Africans can work with. So that's at least the expression of the sentiment of the Nigerian people. But last, there was a protest in front of the French embassy. They destroyed, glasses and the facade of the building. The second in command of the army came out, Salifou Modi. He came out to speak to the population, to tell them that they could go back. There is no need to destroy that. But clearly, the sentiment of the people as they look at the coup, beyond what the coup leaders have said, is that it's an expression of a position where Niger is breaking ties with France. That they are joining this new non-alignment movement on the African continent, especially in West Africa, where countries colonized by France are breaking their ties. In the case of Mali, where now French is no longer the official language in the country, and French army was kicked out. In same thing in Burkina Faso, the French were asked to leave the country, and as they left, surprisingly, the French soldiers ended up in Niger. And now we have over 1,500, according to the French, military personnel in Niger. It's now to see what is going to happen to them, but it's predictable that they will be asked to leave, and that Niger will try to take a posture that is not aligned to France.
Right. Kambale, interestingly, the responses have been quite predictable. You have the ECOWAS, the body of West African countries, being very strong in its condemnation. The European Union has sided with the ECOWAS. France and the US also have pretty much, endorsed that stance. There has been even some talk of military intervention if necessary. So how do you see these responses, and how credible are these, for lack of better words, threats?
I think on the part of France, follow very closely the statement that came out from Emmanuel Macron. He's clearly stating that France will do everything in their power to protect the citizen and French interests. And we know what is French interest in Niger. French interest in Niger is directly Areva, the French mining company that's extracting uranium. France needs the uranium of the Sahel, needs the uranium of Niger to light up the bulb, the light bulb in the country. The electricity of France is run by uranium from the region. So I'm really worried about the position of France based on the internal issues inside of Niger. But the other one that's quite interesting, right, and leaving us a bit perplexed, is the position of ECOWAS, the regional body in West Africa. ECOWAS has given the coup leaders 7 days to bring back Bazoum, bring back constitutional order, so-called democracy. And they say that they will not tolerate another coup. I think ECOWAS leaders are not in tune with what is happening in the region. We had Mali, we had Burkina Faso, we had Guinea, and there will be more coups in the region happening. And this is an expression, particularly in the Francophone Africa, of African people saying that they refuse to be under the tutelage of Western power. They refuse to be under the tutelage of France. They do not want France to control the currency. They do not want France to control the mineral resources. And this has been ongoing for over a decade, where progressive organization and people have mobilized the people of Africa, particularly in West Africa, around French imperialism in the region. And people today, from the young child, 4 or 5 year old, to the adults in the 80s, they are clear and they are all saying the same word. You go to Senegal, you hear France dégage. You go to Mali, you hear France dégage. You go to Burkina Faso, same thing. And then you end up in Niger, people are also saying France dégage.
France dégage. French must go. What do you make of that, Harry, if you're with us? We've got an anti-French military coup happening in Niger, in the Sahel region of North to Central Africa. Sahel meaning the coast in Arabic, but it's a figurative term because it's the coast of the desert, on the edges of the Sahara Desert, as you go further down into what they call sometimes sub-Saharan Africa. And you've got Niger along there, Nigeria next door, of course, and various other very strategically useful countries, and many francophone countries where the French ruled for many years when it was part of their empire. It's not anymore, but some people feel that there's still too much French influence, too much African money heading towards France, and maybe that's why
the franc currency or not.
Say that again, Owen.
Do they still use the franc as their currency?
Well, France is now using the euro, but I believe
Niger and other countries that used to be part like was colonized by them. Do they use francs?
It's quite possible. I don't know. In Egypt, they still use the guinea, the pound from the British era, so it might be that they still use French currency. But I think the bottom line is a lot of their resources, a lot of the wealth from the country ends up heading towards France. I mean, Harry, I don't know what you make of that. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, it's in Algeria, I can speak for them. It's the Algerian dinar. Yeah, so
Okay.
but yeah, I think a lot of us are, myself especially, kind of slightly ignorant as to how cruel really the Francophone Africa really it's always been, still is.
Well, you mentioned Algeria, and
Yeah.
right away, Algeria and Nigeria have signed a military agreement to conduct joint military patrols on their common borders. This is with the new government, it seems. This happened during the visit of Algerian Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf to Niger during his tour of the Sahel region. The purpose of Attaf's trip was mainly to strengthen security and military coordination, as well as to prevent any tension in the region. So I don't know, is that the current leader of Niger or the ousted one? We'll have to
I think that's the one who was
find out. That's the one who ousted. Okay, so there is cooperation between Algeria and Niger, but Niger have this new guy. It's all change in Niger, and this is not yet with the help of the Russians, but Russia would support it. I think the Wagner Group have offered assistance to this military coup, and there are people in Niger waving the Russian flag. Can you believe it? It seems like the opposite of what we see over here, but this is the backlash, isn't it? This is the backlash to imperialism. If you're with one side, we will be with the other because we hate you. You ruled us for many years and we're still not completely free. This is the emblem of the Wagner Group, who have offered assistance.
So going back to what you mentioned before about Algeria, I think the connection is the Tuareg, is it?
Aha. The Tuareg is a language or people in both countries, right?
Yeah. Well, not a language, but more of a ethnic group.
Yeah, there would be Tuareg people in both, and in Western Sahara, which is fighting a battle for independence from the rest of Morocco. Here's a little map for you.
It's the Tuaregs cattle that are getting are like dying in mass because of the uranium fumes and stuff like that.
Okay, that's interesting. Colleagues at Thukydides Trap have published a striking diagram showing how France is being pushed out of Africa. The stickers on the map indicate countries from which Paris has been forced to withdraw over the past year and a half. So that looks like, what's next to Mauritania? Mali. There's Niger in the middle there. And what's that above Ghana? All right, so places are saying au revoir to France and they're not trading with them anymore. They want to sever the ties with the French. Can't say I blame them. Let's continue with the dialogue we had on the screen just a moment ago, and then we'll pick it back up in 3 minutes.
ECOWAS leaders are saying that they're giving the coup leaders 7 days. They're not in tune with the aspirations of African people. They're not in tune with the aspiration of Nigerian people. The Nigerian people in the street demonstrated what they want. They carried the Russian flag. They say France dégage. Is ECOWAS saying France dégage? Is ECOWAS saying France must leave the region? If they are not saying that, they're not in tune with that. The second one that they are not in tune is the level of corruption that has been unfolding in the region. People may say that there was the first peaceful transfer of power in 2021. That's what the Western media is saying that happened in 2021. When you speak to everyone in Niger who's following the situation in the country, they will let you know that the election was rigged, that opposition leaders were sidelined, that the new president which is Mohamed Bazoum, was the former Minister of Foreign Affairs, handpicked by the former president of Niger. So people already have seen him a lack of leadership first, but also he does not have the aspiration of the people. There have been other issues, such as his Bazoum's criticism to the military, where he said to the military they're not adequate to bring down the jihadists in the region, right? So if the president of the country does not have confidence in the military, what would you expect the military to do? So this coup is an expression of that. But my worry with ECOWAS is that each ECOWAS countries should look into what is happening in their in their own countries. We have challenges in Togo, we have challenges in Ghana, we have challenges in Nigeria. A military intervention for ECOWAS is going to be a disaster because the people of Niger are in support of the decisions of the coup plotters. And some of the decisions they've made was to tackle corruption, to actually start going after the ministers and anyone who was in the government who embezzled money. So these populist actions directly from the population is something that the population is in support. ECOWAS should not follow the position of the United States or France. ECOWAS should listen to the people of Niger for a resolution to the crisis.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kambale, for explaining that. And I think pointing out a very central fact that this is not a process in one country. This is a process across the region. And I think a lot of our analysis and coverage that we read often completely misses that point and, just puts it in very simplistic terms. So thank you so much for explaining that. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia.
There you go. ECOWAS, Economic Community of West African States. I can't believe that's the first time I've heard of that organization, but apparently it is the regional and political economic union of 15 countries in West Africa, and they were all ex-French, British and Portuguese colonies. So you've got Benin, Burkina Faso, Gambia, Ghana, etc., etc. And they seem to be supporting the former imperial powers rather than what this gentleman has described as the popular opinion of the people on the ground. Is this really a popular revolution? Are they really flying Russian flags in Niger, or is there some outside agitation going on? Let's have some footage on the ground. And coming up, I think we can see an attack on the French embassy. Just a quick one. Wow. Harry, can I bring you in just to get your opinion on the former colonial powers in Africa? What's the feeling in South Africa towards, well, the British and other colonial powers that were there in the region? Because the Portuguese were in that region as well, weren't they?
Yeah,
and the Dutch.
The Portuguese were the first there. They were the first ones in the Cape, yeah. They were the very first ones there. Yeah, the Portuguese influence is not what it used to be, really. In the West, the Western Cape is almost like a different country compared to the others. That's the only one that's not under ANC leadership. Rest of, but English is always, people always default to English for the most, apart from probably in Gauteng, which has the two largest cities, where people default to Zulu. But still, there's no sort of anti-English thing there, really. It's pretty there's no sort of anti-English sentiment.
Okay. Even what about people of a Boer background? Do they remember the Boer War and hate the British for that reason? or Afrikaner background. I'm saying, is Boer a politically correct term? I don't know.
Yeah, it's people still use Boer. It's,
Okay.
yeah, there's growing movements. You probably heard of Julius Malema, Juju.
Yeah.
Yeah, like politically, yeah. There is the handover of the land is taking way too long. So they have a plan for it. They're just not sticking to it. That's why you get these radical groups come up. But apart from it, when it comes to politics, yeah, there's like an anti-Boer sentiment, a bit of an anti-British sentiment. Generally, not really. No, not really.
What about sympathy for Russia? Might you see Russian flags flying in South Africa?
Not really. No, not like France, But France messed up. France really, they've not taken care of their colonies very well, really.
Interesting. I should have got the clip on the screen. I don't know if you saw recently a South African diplomat saying, Mr. Putin is very welcome here. If he comes to South Africa, we will pick him up from the airport. Yeah. And it sounds strange to us over here, but in other parts of the world, they are with Russia. He's got
a very hard job. He was meant to be there, but he couldn't go. That was recently,
Oh, is that right?
Like yesterday.
Yeah, I think you're right. He was meant to go, but he didn't. He never made it.
He was scheduled to be there for the conference. I can't remember the name of the conference exactly. But
who is the country that's?
Yeah, because it would.
Okay. Because someone is about to join BRICS. Is it BRICS? Brazil, Russia. What does BRICS stand for? Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa.
They just stuck an S on the end.
The International Criminal Court. It is. Are you guys hearing me?
We got you, Owen. Yeah, go for it, loud and clear.
Yeah, it's the International Criminal Court has a chart, like they've got the arrest warrant, right? And because South Africa is one of the member countries, they have to arrest him if he gets there, but they want him there for BRICS. So it's like they've said come, but he was like, it's all right, I don't want to cause you lot trouble. I think that's
okay. Oh, that was the response. Yeah, that was the.
Yeah.
They were saying yes, he is welcome. Who was the country that wanted to join BRICS recently? I can't find it, but it was yeah.
Because that's just 5 letters, right? Isn't it? But I think there's about 23 countries that are like, it's going to turn into a similar rival to NATO, I guess.
Well, I know who I'd rather be a member of. Let's have another look at a clip. I think this is some African TV.
Now, heads of state and government of ECOWAS have called for the immediate release and reinstatement of President Mohamed Bazoum as the legitimate head of state and government of the Republic of Niger. In a communique read at the end of the extraordinary summit on socio-political situation in the Republic of Niger by the Commission's President Omar Touré, the leaders rejected any form of purported resignation by President Bazoum and declared him as the only recognized and elected president. In the event ECOWAS's demands are not met within 1 week, the leaders said they would take all necessary measures to restore constitutional order in the Republic.
His Excellency President Mohamed Bazoum remains the legitimate elected president and head of state of the Republic of Niger, recognized by ECOWAS, the African Union, and the international community. In this regard, only official acts of President Bazoum or his duly mandated officials will be recognized by ECOWAS. 2, condemn in the strongest terms the attempted overthrow of constitutional order in Niger and the illegal detention of His Excellency President Mohamed Bazoum, President and Head of State of Niger, as well as members of his family and government. Call for the immediate release and reinstatement of President Mohamed Bazoum as President and Head of State of the Republic of Niger, and for the full restoration of constitutional order in the Republic of Niger. Reject any form of resignation that may purportedly come from His Excellency President Mohamed Bazoum. Consider the illegal detention of President Bazoum as a hostage situation and hold the authors of the attempted coup d'etat solely and fully responsible for the safety and security of His Excellency President Mohamed Bazoum, as well as members of his family and government. In the event the authorities' demands are not met within 1 week, take all measures necessary to restore constitutional order in the Republic of Niger. Such measures may include the use of force. To this effect, the Chiefs of Defense Staff of ECOWAS are to meet immediately.
The summit, hosted by President Bola Tinubu in his capacity as the chairperson of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government, also agreed to appoint in this March a special representative to deliver the demands of the authority. In a closing remark, President Tinubu rejected the coup and interruption of constitutional order in Niger Republic.
I've briefed some of you about the actions that I've taken. I'm prepared to abide by all resolutions necessary to respond to this assault and to make sure that our colleague, the President Bazoum, is safe and that democracy is restored in Niger Republic.
Hello, hope you enjoyed the news. Please do subscribe to our YouTube.
We did enjoy the news. Yeah, so a coup in Africa, backed by Russia. France might intervene militarily to restore law and order, democracy. When a democratically elected president was overthrown in Ukraine in 2014, no one did anything, did they? Is this just the chickens coming home to roost? If Russia want to tamper in African politics, who's going to stop them? Let's play one more clip. Again, footage on the ground.
Mutinous soldiers claimed to have overthrown Niger's democratically elected president, announcing on state television late Wednesday that they have put an end to the government over the African country's deteriorating security. The soldiers said all institutions had been suspended and security forces were managing the situation. The mutineers urged external partners not to interfere. The announcement came after a day of uncertainty as members of Niger's presidential guard surrounded the presidential palace and detained President Mohamed Bazoum. There was no immediate indication of whether the mutiny was supported by other parts of the military. It was unclear where the president was at the time of the announcement or if he had resigned. The group, which is calling itself National Council for the Safeguarding of the Country, said it remained committed to its engagements with the international and the national community. Earlier Wednesday, a tweet from the account of Niger's presidency reported that members of the Elite Guard unit engaged in an anti-republican demonstration and unsuccessfully tried to obtain support from other security forces. It is said Bazoum and his family were doing well, but that Niger's army and the National Guard are ready to attack if those involved in the action did not back down. The commissions of the African Union and the Economic Community of West African States described the events as an effort to unseat Bazoum, who was elected president 2 years ago in the nation's first peaceful democratic transfer of power since its independence from France in 1960. Before the announcement, hundreds of people took to the streets of the capital, Niamey.
So, footage there, we're saying no to destabilization. So I take it that some of the people that don't want the revolution to happen. I'm getting deja vu from our show about Sudan. I'm sure it's very similar, and that there are two sides to every story. And Russia are said to have a hand in that, with the support of the rapid what they call rapid response forces. God, it goes out of your brain. It's only been a month since it happened. But this is the problem. When things happen in Africa, we forget very quickly, or it doesn't get on the news at all. And I imagine that this story probably will disappear quite quickly. If it was happening in Europe, we would be up in arms about it. But let me just find you one more. Got a couple more images. That,
France or Russia or.
Say that again, Owen.
Yeah, sorry, maybe it's my phone. I think I have to.
No, that's all right. Abbas la France, vive Putin. I like the way they spell Putin in French.
Whether
and of course,
France that's kind of interfering or Russia that's interfering, you know, it's like, and especially when you got uranium involved, and it's powering, I think 30%, did they say, of France's power.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a proxy war over resources. This Sahel region of Africa is very rich in resources, and that's why there's conflicts. That's why people die at an early age in these countries that are very rich in terms of resources, and the people are very poor because those resources.
What about China? How many countries is China getting involved in Africa?
Well, it was the fact that Sudan decided to sell all its oil to China that made Sudan split into two countries, and the biggest country in Africa became
two. The minerals for mining for batteries. What's the other one?
Is that? Yeah. What is it? Lithium?
Cobalt.
Oh, cobalt. Is it? Okay. So where is rich in cobalt? Do you know?
I don't know, but that's where China is investing. I know that, but again, in like Russia is in infrastructure, so not just on that. Like they're doing like.
Is China the new France? Huh. Owen, how do you feel about China as a country?
I don't know. It's I was watching a little documentary on Hong Kong recently.
Okay.
And obviously that's very different. But
well, it's part of China.
Now, yeah,
according to them,
the phase of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that as history's shown us, like there's nothing to be too afraid of, especially from the position that we're in.
Yeah, we have some defenders of China on this channel, and we have some people critical and some unsure.
Well, remember how many people had to flee just because of yeah, they weren't a communist, let's put it that way. I mean, that was many, many, many years ago, and it's very different now. But people don't forget that, do they?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the thing about certain countries. If you speak to the people that don't live there, they probably left because they didn't like it, and they're not going to say nice things about back home or the government until it changed. But yeah, the truth lies somewhere in the middle.
I think when you ask the question, "Oh, what do you think of China?"
Yeah,
people will answer it in a certain way, but then you have to question, "Oh, what do you think of North Korea?" And then people's answers to that is automatic. But is it necessarily like? How should we think about those two similar places?
yeah. Well, what do you think of North Korea? Are you saying North Korea is more obviously considered an outrageous country? Look at their leader; he's a dictator. We get that, and China not less so. The same, but to a lesser extent.
Yeah, I don't know if it's maybe being in Britain where it's not so. Obviously, in America, I think China's viewed with the same sort of paint with the same brush, let's say, and Russia as well.
Yeah. Chai comes.
Britain tries to stand on a high horse,
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
and not
China.
To mention,
yeah.
Israel as well.
Yeah. Where you mean public opinion of Israel, or?
Yeah, in terms of the brush that the British paints it on the opposite end of the spectrum. Do you know what I mean? Like
yeah, I think maybe that's changing. I don't know, and there's always whataboutery on both sides, and I've noticed that some of the supporters of Israel are very vocal when it comes to criticism of China. I don't know if that's to deflect. That doesn't mean that both can't be right or can't be wrong. But I just remember noticing some of the vocal supporters, for example, of the Uyghur Muslims, who it seems have a very hard time in China. Some of the people speaking up the loudest for them are staunch supporters of Israel. Is that deflection?
With the Falun Gong as well.
What's that about the Falun Gong?
So another of what the way the Uyghurs kind of plight is misrepresented. Some like the Falun Gong have put a lot of money into saying it's actually them and not the Uyghurs.
Oh, really? Well, the argument goes that anyone that doesn't toe the line in China is or seen as a political threat or ideological threat.
The newspaper that links up with the Falun Gong is like
a
Chinese far-right newspaper, and I think it links to Israel somehow. I need to remember the name of it.
We will have to look into that.
They don't pretend they're not actually they're Chinese, but all of the names are in American and they're far-right American.
Okay.
Actually Chinese, and they link in with the Falun Gong, and they link in with this other thing as well. What's that?
Well, the thorn in the side of China has always been the Falun Gong, the Dalai Lama. These have been the
Chinese theatrical dance thing, the massive thing that tours everywhere.
Oh, the empirical something orchestra. I can't remember.
It links up with them. I can't remember. I need to refresh my memory on all of this, but it's just made something click in my head.
Okay. So these are all linked as opposition to China.
Well, what's the name of Mossad?
Mossad being the Israeli Secret Service.
Yeah. There's a connection there. All right, this is something I've read maybe about 18 months ago, 2 years ago, about a big ongoing thing.
We will have to find out. Is there a connection between that
Well, if you got
Secret
that side of
Service?
it, and then on the other side, kind of Russia, but Russia playing both sides because Russia is very friendly. with
Yeah,
Israel.
and Russia have a good relationship with Israel and a good relationship with some of the countries that might be in opposition to Israel. Iran, for example.
Like, it's BRICS, isn't it, with the C being
Yeah.
China?
At the end of the day, all these countries are probably just out for themselves, and you can hold them up as heroes when it suits you, but really they're just in it for their own gain, in it for what they can get out of the region, probably. And the Wagner Group that you can see on the screen now are offering help to these people in Niger. It's not a charity, so they can be strategically influential, I'm sure. But it is weird. It does look out of place to see the Russian flag flying in the streets of Africa, but that just shows you how interlinked geopolitics could be. Is someone else joining us? No, I thought someone was about to jump on. No. All right, gentlemen. Well, that's about it from me, unless anyone's got any point that's been missed in the debate so far.
We didn't mention the Belt and Road. Yeah.
What is the Belt and Road, Harry?
The Belt and Road is not just Africa, I'd say one of the biggest sort of, you can put it like the pedestal of failures was probably I don't know the name of it now, that gigantic airport in Sri Lanka.
Okay.
Where the Chinese come in, they say, yeah, we're going to do something for your economy. So in China already there's 65 million empty homes already. There's it's GDP at around 17 trillion or something like this.
Okay.
Just nothing but land grabs off the rural people, no goodwill. And it's kind of started with them. Said, yeah, so we're going to build on this land. The people of that land.
Yeah, the Belt and Road Initiative 2013. I've got it here. Global infrastructure development strategy adopted by the Chinese government in 2013 to invest in more than 150 countries and international organizations. It's considered a centerpiece of leader Xi Jinping's foreign policy. Okay, so that didn't amount to much, did it?
Well, yeah, to sum it up, there's the similar sort of things that would happen in China. They would go to the rural areas. We're going to build here, get us started. But sir, I don't have the money for this. It's okay. We'll lend you the money.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have the timber either. Yeah, we'll bring that in. Okay, we'll just give you everything, and everything's based on this loan. They're still built. Yeah, the 65 million. They're still building. So now, they went into Sri Lanka, did this. So yeah, the materials, the design, even the workers, the Chinese, they don't even use Sri Lankan workers. Same kind of thing in the biggest area you're going to see this happen in Africa is Djibouti. You probably know about this already. You probably know. And when they did Mozambique, they built Africa's biggest suspension bridge. That's cute. Yeah, they've just completed that. It looks it's very good what they did there. But as soon as they realize that this country doesn't have the infrastructure, tourism to pay for it, they're like, okay, we're going to take it. So in many ways, there's no goodwill. It's kind of in the sort of sketchy way the British did it, not the cruel way the French did it, but it's sort of in the way the British do it. I think, a lot of the African students, they are learning Chinese now. But I think that the way that I think they respect Russia, the way that Russia are doing it a lot more concisely. And the ruble is up. Putin
is the ruble up? I remember when the ruble was like the weakest currency going. Has it regained its value?
Miraculously, since this war. Some people say that it's just like a temporary thing. It's it's quite interesting how their economy is flying. You know, it's we'll see how it shapes up with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the
Vive
Belt and
Putin.
Road is yeah, that's how they got to control a lot of the African countries. There's a lot more projects planned. They've got stuff going on in Kenya. Yeah, lots of bits. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
what's going on there. Kamala Harris, she went to 3 different countries. You mentioned uranium in were we talking about Niger.
Niger, yeah.
There's actually quite a lot of undiscovered in Ghana, and Ghana was one of the 3 countries that she went to. Yeah, there's a lot of uranium there. Speculated, it's probably correct. You know, if they've
Kamala Harris went to Ghana.
Yeah, she went
Can
to
you do
Ghana,
the laugh?
Tanzania. Ghana, yeah, she wrapped it up in April.
You did it, Joe. You're going to be the president of the United States. She laughs every time she can't answer a question, which is every time, apparently.
And you got to do that in your next show.
Yeah. Kamala Harris. The next president, possible president-elect. But I mean, is he going to last? Is he going to win the next election? He may not.
Possible.
We don't know.
Yeah,
but yeah, we will come back to that. When I look at that spelling of Putin, this is how dumb I am. I think the French spell Putin incorrectly, but we're spelling it an English way. It's a Russian name. They would have used the Cyrillic alphabet. And apparently it's pronounced Putin, not Putin in Russian anyway.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's a lesson.
That backwards N in Cyrillic, when you look at the backwards N, that's
yeah.
E.
Oh, is that right? Can you read Cyrillic a little bit?
Yes.
Very good.
Yes.
Very good.
Yeah, Bulgaria is where that originated
from.
Yeah,
that's right. I remember you saying. And you trained with a guy from Bulgaria, right?
Yeah, the Turkic countries took it on, as in the northern Turkic countries.
Yeah.
Then Russia took it on, Serbia and the southern.
And Cyrillic is named after. Is it Kirill? Is it a king or someone called? Why is it Cyrillic?
Saint Cyril.
There you go. So yeah, you did tell me that. Saint Cyril.
He was the dean of the university in.
That's right. Yeah.
Central Bulgaria. Yeah.
Fantastic, man. Obichum. That's all I can say in Bulgarian.
Yeah. And, it's all love. It's all love.
It is. Well, look, guys, much love for joining me tonight. Really appreciate it. Both of you are soldiers for this channel, and we'll do it again next Monday.
Thank you.
It's been Lesson for Life. We were here. We are gone. Later.